Rest in peace, Myra Craft. Patriots! This one's for you.
Welcome to Patriots Central Radio with Jeremy Dawson and Steve Balestriei.
New England, what up?
International show report.
Yeah, we on it.
Welcome everybody to Patriots Central. I'm your host, Jeremy Dawson. I'm here with my co-host, Steve Balestriei. How's it going today, Steve?
Doing well, Jeremy. It's been a very interesting week, I would assume, for everyone that covers Boston sports. And I think we have some great guests on the line today, and it should be a very interesting show for our listeners.
Definitely. I mean, plus we got the Hernandez situation. Everything kind of broke down right after we got done talking about our last show. And today we got a lot of good guests. We got Russ Goldman, that's going to be very big. We have a former player and NFL agent, Ralph Cindrich. That's another. I mean, I know that he was twice named in the list of the 100 most powerful people in sports, so that's definitely a great guest to have on here. We also have Doug Kyed from Nesson Sports. So, we got a jam-packed show, and it's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. And, we have three good guests. We're going to get three different great perspectives from these guys on what's going on, especially with the Hernandez situation. And I think it's going to be a fun show. So what are you saying? Let's jump right into this. And we'd like to welcome our first guest here on Patriots Central today, Russ Goldman. Russ is a blogger and a co-host for Patriots 4th and 2. He also does a new show on the Gridiron Network called the AFC East Breakdown. And he also is involved heavily with the English Premier League, with covering the team from Fulham, and I can't remember their name for the life of me, Russ. You'll have to excuse me on that. I'm not a big soccer fan. But for those who know him, Russ was also a media credentialed member of the BBC when the Patriots played in London last year. Russ, welcome to Patriots Central.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, so let's jump right into it because we talk all the time anyway, so let's just jump right into it. You just recently wrote an article for PatsFans.com, and you talked about how a lot of people are already writing off the Patriots for the 2013 season. Why don't you let us know what that one's all about?
Sure. Well, just to reiterate, my article was about the fact that not that people were writing it yet. My thought was that with the injury to Gronkowski and the situation with Hernandez is that the predictions of doom should be happening sometime around training camp. We should start seeing people in the media start basically talking about the downfall of the Patriots. It normally happens every single training camp, but I got a feeling that it's going to be really going full force this season because of the current situations that the Patriots are dealing with. So my column was basically to write about what has happened in the past and why I feel confident that actually some of this negative talk that the Patriots will hear, the players and, of course, the coaching staff, could lead to something special. And
I think that was a great column. I read it yesterday, and I was like, that's why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I know a lot of people are already starting to write them off. I've been seeing a lot of it. A lot of people saying, oh, this is the year that the Dolphins are going to supplant the Patriots as the AFC East. I don't think people are ready for that quite yet. I think there's a coach and a quarterback in Foxborough that might have something to say about that. So looking at training camp coming up, where do you see the biggest camp competition at position-wise that's going to happen this year?
Well, I think it would really have to start at the wide receiver position because that is so much in flux. So you're looking at two rookies coming in. You have Boyce and I don't know why I'm blanking on the other guy at this point, but you have two rookies coming in along with Danny Amendola. You basically have a brand new unit of wide receivers coming in along with Michael Jenkins and Donald Jones. You're not exactly sure what you're going to have. So that, to me, is going to be the number one battle for camp. But that's not what I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be actually focused on the defense. And I'm going to be looking at the defensive tackle position where the Patriots just brought in Tommy Kelly and they also brought in Armand Armstead, because I think that is a position of need that needs to be upgraded, and that's where I'm going to be looking.
And right beside the defensive tackles, there ought to be some really good competition at defensive end this year.
Yep.
But who do you see coming out of the defensive end position?
Well, at the defensive end position, I think you're still going to see Rob Ninkovich and also Chandler Jones being your two starters there. Behind them, there could be some battles. Of course, we still have Jermaine Cunningham working in the wings, and and a couple other players. But I really think that you're going to see Chandler Jones take a major step up in year two, and I also think Rob Ninkovich, who's been extremely solid at the position, really just going to be able to do his job again. I don't think he gets enough respect for what he does at that position. He is really that hybrid defensive end outside linebacker, and I think the Patriots really do have two solid bookends at defensive end.
Great. Hey, we're talking with Russ Goldman here on Patriots Central. Jeremy, pass it over to you.
All right, so how's it going? First question, I was just wondering, of course, about your article, although history, of course, has shown us not to doubt the New England Patriots, and, especially when they're faced with adversity, because they turn it around. If there was a team that could pass the Patriots this year, who do you think that team would be?
Wow, that's a great question, Jeremy. And to be honest with you, I don't see that being everyone's actually picking the Denver Broncos, and I'm not sure it's going to be the Denver Broncos, because I'm not a big believer in their defense. Their defense looks great on paper. It's one of those defense that has tremendous stats, but when they play a really good offense, a good offense can take apart that defense. So I'm still not sold on the Denver Broncos. I actually think there are several teams in the National Football Conference that could take down the Patriots. I really do believe that the Patriots should be, even with the situation at the tight end position, the favorite in the AFC. But to win the whole thing, I still think you're going to deal with several teams in the NFC, including teams like the Packers, like the Saints, who I think are going to rebound this year, and several other teams. I guess you could say the one team that I fear most as a Patriots fan has to be the San Francisco 49ers, because I think the 49ers should be the favorite to win it all.
Definitely, and I'm pretty sure that we played the 49ers during the regular season this year, so that's definitely going to be a matchup to look out for. Another question, I was wondering, as you go throughout the New England Patriots roster and stuff, are there any under the radar guys? I mean, I know that we have new receivers and stuff, but that's kind of been addressed a lot. I was wondering if there's any guys that haven't been talked about that you could see emerging throughout training camp in the preseason.
I think there are a few, and I'll start at the safety position. A player that actually played a decent amount in year one, I think could make a step up in year two. He's going to have some competition, is Tavon Wilson. I think Tavon Wilson has definitely flown underneath the radar. He actually took some serious criticism because where he was drafted and what the experts had him ranked going into the draft a year ago. But I think Tavon Wilson has already shown the ability to actually play a regular role on the defense. I think you could see him making a step up this season. I wouldn't call this player a player to emerge. I think this is this player's last chance, and that would be Rasai Dowling. And I'm not sure what you're going to get out of him. He has the ability to be someone that could make an impact at the cornerback position, but his health has always been an issue. If he's healthy, he could be someone that could basically, I guess you could say, a dark horse contender to make an impact. Because again, I saw it on a very small scale when he played a couple seasons ago, but he's been hurt ever since. So I think that's someone to keep your eye on, because I think it's a make or break situation for him. Another player that I would say is a make or break would have to be linebacker. Would have to be at the linebacker position, and I would say someone like Dane Fletcher, someone that many people are not talking about, who actually was hurt all of last season, could make an impact. He is an inside linebacker, and when he has played, when he was healthy, again, very effective. He might not be an every down back, but he's someone that could actually easily fill in fill in, I guess you could say, as a starter at the inside linebacker position.
Oh, definitely. That's definitely some great insight. Thank you.
Yeah, another under-the-radar guy, Russ, I'd like to get your take on because it's a guy really Patriots fans and a lot of NFL fans don't know anything about, and I'm anxious to see how this guy plays this year, is Duron Harmon, safety the Patriots drafted. What's your take on him?
You know what, Steve? I got to be honest with you. I have not seen him play that much, except probably in YouTube videos. I don't remember seeing him that much with Rutgers. But he is someone that I'm going to be looking out for again because there was so much talk about where he was drafted and how he played in the system. This is all I'm going to say about this player because I'm going to give him a chance, just like I gave Tavon Wilson a chance. Duron Harmon played in a system that is similar to the New England Patriots. When he came in out of Rutgers. He is a Patriots type of player, and I think that's why they drafted him and also drafted the other kid out of Rutgers as well. There's been so much talk about why so many Rutgers players. I think part probably has to do with the ex-head coach of Rutgers, but also the system that they run and the professionalism that they give at, I guess you could say, at a college level. It's not professional, but they take it to more of a pro style at Rutgers. So again, that's why I actually have a good feeling about the Rutgers guys coming in, because I think they're prepared to play on a pro level and could actually be a help to the Patriots. So Duron Harmon is absolutely someone that we should be looking out for at training camp.
Great answer. Hey, I'm going to throw you a curve here. We're going to go off the grid here. I'm going to ask you a question. You're a Syracuse alumni, so I know you're a big Syracuse fan. So for the Bills, Doug Marrone, was it a good hiring or a bad hiring?
Best hiring. He could be the best hiring this year as a new head coach. Doug Marrone deserves this chance. Doug Marrone is finally going to be the coach that pulls the Buffalo Bills around. I truly believe it. I watched it at Syracuse. I watched him take, and I mean a terrible football program and turn it around to make it a thing of pride again. And I'm telling you, he's going to do the same thing with the Buffalo Bills. And he really is an offensive-minded coach, but he also really did an excellent job with the Syracuse defense, made them extremely aggressive. And I think he'll bring that along with that to Buffalo. And as a Patriots fan, the minute I heard that Marrone was hired, I started to get fearful a little bit because I know how good of a coach he is. I think he's the best hire, seriously. And of course, there are many other hires this year in the NFL for head coaches and obviously much bigger names. Watch out for Doug Marrone.
Well, see, now you just made a big friend with Brian here from Pro Football Central because he's a big Bills fan, so I'm sure that made him smile when you said that. Hey, Russ, before you leave, let everyone know where they can find you on Twitter and on the Internet.
Sure. They can find me on Twitter at Russ_Goldman. That's where you can find me on Twitter. You can also find my podcast on blogtalkradio.com under Patriots 4th and 2. And then also we do have another podcast with the National Gridiron Network. That's the AFC East Breakdown. You can see that. And as you mentioned in the beginning, Steve, I am the host of a show called Cottage Talk, which is about Fulham Football Club in the Barclays Premier League, and you can find that on blogtalkradio.com as well under Cottage Talk. So there you go. I've got a lot of different shows, a lot of different blogs, and also on PatsFans.com. You can see me under Pat's Confidential.
Well, Russ, thank you very much for taking the time, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you later because my wife's always telling me we talk too much on the phone as it is anyway. So thanks again, my friend.
Yeah, no, I hear that all the time, Steve. We are like two girls. I hear that from my wife.
Thank you, my friend. Have a good afternoon.
Football fans, looking to get healthy this year? Now is the time, and I have the perfect place for you. Save 10% at onit.com/football radio. Exclusive PFC radio listeners save 10% off their order. That's onit.com, ONNIT.com/football radio.
Welcome back to Patriots Central. We now have a very special guest with us. Ralph Cindrich is a sports agent, former NFL player. He played for the New England Patriots, the Houston Oilers and the Denver Broncos before becoming an agent and an attorney. He's been representing players for the past 25 years. Among his players, he has over 27 Pro Bowl clients, including 20 first-round draft picks. Ralph, welcome to Patriots Central. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you. It's good to be on.
Let's jump right into this. This is the boogeyman in the room, and we're talking about Aaron Hernandez. The first question on everyone's mind up here in New England, obviously, will probably be, can and will the Patriots be able to recover some of the money that they haven't already paid him, as when he signed his contract?
I think everyone's been staying away from that question because you have a new collective bargaining agreement, and this is one of first impression. In my opinion, yes, they will. There's plenty of, and it depends on what type of money. There's plenty of evidence that they will be able to get it back, but paid salary would be one thing that already paid to them extremely difficult. However, when you get into roster bonuses, signing bonuses, and the other things that make up that extra money the players always look at, you're talking about at the time of signing the contract, you're given representations and warranties. Those warranties are expressly relied upon by the club, and they, in law, are what's called a condition precedent. But for that fact, that there aren't any, that the player hasn't been indicted, hasn't been convicted of anything involving a fraud or of moral turpitude or any felonies, then he's in a position where his money's okay. But if he has been, or if he even was in any acts that can lead to that, and he hasn't made them known, which he wouldn't, but he still then can give it up. So in other words, he has to have a full and complete disclosure to the club of all information that relates to that warranty. And if he represents that he hasn't done anything that would put him into a situation of pleading nolo contendere or to a felony or to a misdemeanor crime involving moral turpitude.
Okay, that's an answer that everyone's been wondering about because, they've been beating about around the bush basically about that, but we really haven't got a good answer. That's, I think, the answer everyone's looking for. Let me ask you, let
me say this, though. Sometimes when I don't know the answer, I make it up.
Well, don't we all?
Yes. Well, but honestly, in looking at everything, to me, that's going to be the best case scenario. I just think there have been a lot of pundits out there that have been totally wrong.
Okay, fair enough. As a professional agent and somebody who's been in the game a long time, a lot of what we've seen and heard about Hernandez, we heard the initial things when he was in college that he had some failed drug tests, but that was really about it. We really didn't hear much more than that. And now, of course, all this other stuff comes up. It was kind of a shock. If you were representing Hernandez, do you think you would have handled anything different than as an agent than his people have been doing with him?
I would never have represented Hernandez. I don't say that just because of this part of it alone. That wasn't my type of guys. You look at the type of guys that I could convince to come with me or that would want to come with me. They were a cut above. If you just looked at the last couple of Jeff Faraday and James Ferrier, and you go on, up to the Patriots guys like Scott Solak. I had good individuals who would listen. But with Hernandez, I don't know what you can advise him once, and going through the facts and just looking at it. I guess my feelings were just so hard here, and I was just so exasperated and really ticked off at this guy that he would do that to the NFL. I understand it goes a lot deeper, but, guys change. Street guys do change in the NFL. When I was with the Patriots, we had some guys that would shoot off to New York City right after the game, but they were guys, no one I would ever thought murderers, but, there were some street guys in there. This is just so out of character that I don't know that anybody could have said anything that could have changed this character.
Speaking about agents, do agents do background checks on players like the league does and some of the teams do before you would even consider looking into somebody? Do you do a significant background check on a lot of these guys, or do you rely on, what the teams have or what the league puts out?
I would always look, no, not an independent resource there, but always would talk to clubs, always look at the reports and see, and there's always a grade or a provision that relates to a guy's character. And, quite frankly, there's a zero way that I would ever stay with a guy or he would stay with me more than a couple of weeks if he was of that ilk, that character. It's just, we just weren't on the same wavelength, and, life's too short and golf course is too green to be screwing around with guys like that.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. Hey, we're speaking with Ralph Cindrich, professional agent for the NFL, and we're here on Patriots Central. I'm going to pass you over to Jeremy. Jeremy, you got a question for Ralph?
Yes, how's it going, Ralph?
Hey, Jeremy, thank you for having me on.
Definitely. The pleasure's all ours. Just as an experienced sports agent, of course, there are clients with poor backgrounds, and you said, you kind of stay away from them. But I'm sure that there might have been a guy or two that had, maybe a situation in their past, and maybe they cleared up. And are there, certain steps that an agent would take to keep those kind of situations away from a player? Do you treat players who maybe have a little bit of a shady past differently than you would a client who's always been an outstanding citizen?
Right. And there were parts that I couldn't quite get, but let me stumble around like I always do. First off, really to go back to it. The most I've ever had is a guy that caught taking juice, or maybe been in the car where another guy's been smoking marijuana, or something of that nature. Never anything like this, but whenever you do it, you do move quickly for damage control. You do try to control it. You make sure that you talk with them first, that you have your people set up. I always would rely upon someone. I'm not a public relations expert. I go to someone PR-wise. What are you thinking? And usually when you come up with these situations, you either come out with a statement right away or you clam up. In my opinion, if it's something that involves jail time or potentially jail time, you shut up. You go and you make sure, and I've represented felons and murderers, capital murder case. So I've been around this, and that's your first duty as an agent, to make sure that your client is protected when it comes to being charged or going to jail.
All right, definitely. That's definitely good insight. So from your standpoint, how do you think that this whole Aaron Hernandez, just to be more specific on him, how do you think the case really unfolded as far as the background? Do you think that the New England Patriots had kind of more information and that's what led to an immediate release as soon as he was arrested?
My opinion, absolutely. All of the NFL has excellent security. All of them know all the local cops, the state police, and the FBI. Promise you that. And so, you're talking about the situation that they I think they've heard more than what they wanted to hear, and they acted swiftly, and they did it without regard, at least at the time, to cap implications, money, and all the rest. Though I think they will, and I still believe they could move to freeze some of his assets based upon his material misrepresentations and the express agreements, condition precedent of the Patriots giving that money to him. So, I don't think all for loss there, but, salary that's already paid. And this, I don't know where people, this guaranteed salary. A salary is guaranteed for injury and skill. It's not guaranteed for murder or for being a thug or any of the other stuff. So if he was physically unable to perform and this hadn't come up, okay. If his skills went way down, that's another one. But when you're talking about acts off the field like this, or even, and if you look at it this logistically and say, hey, he's not going to be available to play. He's in breach of his contract because he's in jail. He's not going to be able to participate with the club. He's not going to be able to play, and that's covered in there. It's expressly covered that if he's incarcerated, then there's no obligation to pay.
So I'm assuming that Aaron Hernandez understands this. Do you think that he is personally still going to go after the money that is still left over to him? I would feel like it'd be an absurd thing, but people people are discussing it so much that is this like a realistic option for him?
And your question to me was whether or not it's realistic that the team would go after monies that they pay.
That Hernandez would go after the remaining guaranteed money that he hasn't been paid.
Oh, that's that's like spitting in the wind, man, or against the wind. If they can do whatever they want to do, it ain't going to happen. They won't get it, but sure, they can take a shot. Again, that guarantee is an injury and skill guarantee, and this is on salary. Now, the paid salary, that's one thing. Now, your best defense here, if you're an agent, and you're going to come forward, I'd have trouble. Look, I represented murderers, but not football players who were of that type. I would have trouble representing him, trying to protect his reporting bonus or his roster bonuses. Money paid him, there are forfeiture provisions under the collective bargaining agreement and under most addendums to the standard NFL contract. It's one of those to where, I don't see it happening to where they would have. I think it's thrown out right away on the guaranteed portion of the salary. He's done there. The only real issue, I believe, remains is whether or not the Patriots, based upon if they have enough facts available through their local authorities, that they could go into an independent third party, a judge, try to freeze his assets, and then come in under the provisions of his addendum to the contract, and really it's expressly provided under provisions of the collective bargaining agreement to go after the money they've already paid him for his breach. And some may think that's not realistic. To me, it is, and Mr. Kraft may be one of those who feels likewise.
All right, Steve, back to you. Any final questions?
Yeah, one more question, Ralph, if I may. We see the after effects, obviously, of a kid who, turns bad, this Hernandez situation. And the NFL is also filled with good kids like Tim Tebow, and the Patriots also have Zoltan Mesko, who's a great guy who seems to embrace the role as being a really good citizen as well as a good football player. Let's jump back a little bit. Do you think the NCAA prepares these players for life after college? Or, in your opinion, are they preparing these guys just to win them bowl games and TV money? You must have followed me some on Twitter because I have it in for the NCAA because of the latter. What the NFL receives is a bad product from the NCAA. Football players, yeah. In terms of all the other things that go into having a secondary education to all the other benefits and everything else, no. I mean, they do a lousy, terrible job, and they really don't care. It's not a part of what they're about. Keep the guy eligible. He doesn't have to go to class. He doesn't. I mean, look, how's a guy like Hernandez get through college? Without. And I'm sure there are other incidents, and it's more. You're under a microscope more when you're on a college campus. People know what's going on. Other students know what's going on. I think it's a terrible atrocity what's going on with the system that we have. We're the only system that I know of in the world that has this professionalism and amateur status, and yet guys coming out of college receive some of them six figures after games been proven under oath, handshakes with $100 bills if they scored a touchdown, made some sacks. That's not what this whole thing is supposed to be about, and one of the reasons why the IPs got out of it a long time back. Just one of the reasons.
Well, thank you very much, Ralph. We really appreciate you coming on Patriots Central today. We really enjoyed your insight on what's going on, with this case, because, frankly, a lot of people don't know the legal ramifications other than the actual criminal side of this. So before we let you go, would you tell us how we can find you on Twitter and the Internet and how people can read about what you're putting out there?
Oh, sure, and very much appreciate that. I am on Twitter at Ralph Cindrich. That's RALPH at Ralph Cindrich. Sind as in Cindy, rich as in money. I don't have any. CINDRICH.
All right, Ralph, thank you very much. We appreciate your time today.
Well, enjoy talking with you guys. Thank you anytime.
Football fans, looking to get healthy this year? Now is the time, and I have the perfect place for you. Save 10% at onit.com/football radio. Exclusive PFC radio listeners save 10% off their order. That's onit.com, ONNIT.com/football radio.
And welcome back to Patriots Central. We now have a very special guest. Doug Kyed from Nesson is joining us today on Patriots Central. We'll talk about, surprise, surprise, the Aaron Hernandez situation. Doug has been working for Nesson for the past 2 years, and prior to that, he's been at Patriots.draft.com, where he covered the Patriots in the NFL draft. Doug graduated from Emerson College with a BS in broadcast journalism. Doug, welcome to Patriots Central.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's nice to be on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. I know I burn up your Twitter lines all the time with questions back and forth, so what do you say we jump right into this?
Absolutely. Sounds good to me.
All right. As we've been talking about for, I think, the past 2 weeks, everything is geared around the Aaron Hernandez situation. And, the Patriots cut their ties with him rather quickly. They removed all of his stuff from the pro shop. What's your take on this? Do you think the Patriots are just trying to do the right thing, or are they just protecting the brand as some people have accused them of?
I don't think it's that accusation is totally fair. I think that obviously there's probably a bit of both sides in it, but that doesn't discount the fact that they are definitely doing the right thing in this situation, not only by cutting him right away, but by, getting rid of the jerseys in the pro shop, offering the jersey exchange. Obviously, they are protecting their brand a little bit. It will help as a PR move, but you really still can't discount the fact that everything they've done in this situation is still the right thing to do. It isn't all words. There's actions behind it as well.
Absolutely. I completely in agreement with you there. So I know we've all beat the Hernandez issue to death. So let's just go right into, do you feel like that they're going to replace him with just someone that's on the roster now, or are they going to bring in someone else? And if they do, who do you see coming in?
I think that just to start, they'll probably have to replace him with someone on the roster. Bill Belichick always preaches putting the best 11 players on the field for every situation. And you've got to assume that he would think that the best 11 players are probably on the team right now. Now, unfortunately, there's no one like Aaron Hernandez on the team. Zach Sudfeld might be the closest, but he's still not quite the weapon that Aaron Hernandez is, obviously. So I think that they're going to have to replace him with a wide receiver and a tight end. There's not going to be one single player who's going to replace him. And as far as outside the team options, there's some guys out there. There's Evan Moore. There's Chris Cooley, Dallas Clark. But still, those guys probably wouldn't play every snap like Aaron Hernandez did. So you might as well probably replace him with a second tight end who's on the roster, whether it be Jake Ballard, Zach Sudfeld, Ho'omana Wanui, Daniel Fells, or a wide receiver. And in that case, it would probably be Julian Edelman, unless he gets hurt. And then you'd be talking about maybe Josh Boyce, Lavelle Hawkins, one of those guys. But just as far as, an unpredictable standpoint from the Patriots offense, not having Hernandez in there is absolutely going to hurt them. I think that a lot of Patriots fans are trying to be as optimistic as possible, and the Patriots offense probably won't see a huge decline based off this. I predict they'll still have a top 10 offense, but combining Hernandez not being on the team anymore with the rest of the offseason they've had, including Gronk's injury, Welker being gone, Lloyd being gone, we're gonna see the offense take a bit of a step back in 2013, I think.
Okay. Jeremy, I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right. How's it going, Doug?
I'm doing well.
All right. So my first question, stay on the topic. Of course, like you said, Aaron Hernandez is kind of an irreplaceable athlete as far as that's concerned. And there really is no tight end or wide receiver on the roster who's just like him. So in the past, we've seen constantly multiple tight end sets from the New England Patriots. I was wondering if you think maybe we're going to see almost an entirely new offense installed this year, because almost every piece is new and we might not even have Gronk for the beginning. So, I mean, how do you see the offense playing out throughout the season?
I think that we will actually see some new elements in the offense, and whether that involves Shane Vereen being used more or whether it involves using 3 wide receivers more, we're certainly going to see some new aspects. And the fact that this happens so early in the offseason will help because Josh McDaniels has time to plan now. They know that Hernandez isn't going to be there, and they can at least either predict that Gronkowski won't be there to start the season or have a capable replacement in Jake Ballard. So I think that we're definitely going to see some new aspects in this offense, and Shane Vereen's probably going to be a pretty big part of it just because obviously he can play that Danny Woodhead role, but he can also do more. He can line up outside at wide receiver. We saw that in the Houston playoff game. He's a bigger back. He might be able to run through the tackles a little bit more. So I think that Vereen's probably going to be a pretty big option in this offense as long as he stays healthy. And that's really the issue with a lot of players on the offense, which is unfortunate. There's going to be a lot of things that need to go right for the Patriots for them to get back to the same level they've been at before. But, yeah, I do think that we're going to see a lot of new elements from Josh McDaniels. He's a very creative offensive coordinator. And as long as he doesn't try too many of those crazy reverses, I think the Patriots will probably be pretty prepared for the season to start.
Definitely some good insight. So the Patriots offense, it's really been their strongest point for a pretty long time now. But, I mean, if we really look back on the Super Bowl winning days, pretty much all of our biggest names were on defense outside of Brady. And we were, for the most part, just a defensive team. And I noticed you have a article written speaking on how the defense needs to step up this year. But do you think that the defense needs to be the stronger half of the team again in order for the Patriots to really be successful this year?
I think the defense just needs to be strong. It doesn't need to be stronger than the offense. It doesn't need to be a top 10 defense. It probably doesn't even really have to be a top 15 defense. But the fact that they've had so much success in the past few years while their defense has been, relatively bad, that tells me that even if the defense steps up a little bit, the Patriots can definitely get back to where they were the last few years as a full team. Like I said, I don't think that the offense is going to be as good as it was last year, maybe not as good as it was the year before, but it's definitely going to be a better balanced team this year because of the defense. And I do think that the defense will be able to step up. There's a lot of young players on there, but they've been together for a long time now. Some of those guys are really stepping up as leaders. I've seen Chandler Jones talking to rookies. I think Dante Hightower is ready to be a leader. Devin McCourty's been a leader for a while now. So as all these players mature, as they all, hang out and play together and get back on the practice field, it's going to be a much better unit. And while I don't think they will be better than the offense, I also don't think they need to be better than the offense because, just making the Super Bowl in 2011 with that defense when you had so much turnover at cornerback, you had Sterling Moore coming out of nowhere, it just needs to be better, and the pieces are definitely in place for that to happen.
Definitely. Steve, back to you.
All right, Doug, one more question for you, if you don't mind. Who do you see as stepping up in the safety position opposite Devin McCourty this year?
That's a tough question, Steve. It seems like just to start out, Adrian Wilson's been that guy, but I also don't really see him playing a traditional safety role 70 or 80 snaps a game. He's such a big guy that I think he's going to be used in kind of a safety/linebacker hybrid position. So maybe when he's not back at safety, we'll probably see Tavon Wilson there. It might be that, that duo of Wilson playing next to McCourty. And their skills match up pretty well with one another. Adrian Wilson's, good in that in the box role. And if any of the strong safeties on the team can play back deep with McCourty, it would probably be Tavon Wilson. Obviously, Tavon Wilson's going to have to mature a lot over the offseason, and that remains to be seen whether that's going to happen or not. Even if he can't step up, Adrian Wilson probably could play a full set of snaps, and obviously we saw last year that Steve Gregory can at least be okay at that position. But I'd expect Adrian Wilson to probably play the most snaps next to McCourty, but Tavon Wilson will definitely be in there as well.
Okay, Doug, before we let you go, and we really appreciate your time, tell us where we can find you on Twitter and on the Internet.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Doug Kyed Nesson. The last name is spelled Kyed. And just go to Nesson.com. My stuff and my partner Luke's stuff will be all over there throughout the off-season, throughout training camp, throughout the season. We'll be down at Gillette as much as we can, so we'll be trying to bring out all the updates.
Great. Doug, thank you very much from Patriots Central for your time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And we welcome back our listeners, and thank you all for listening to Patriots Central today. For myself, Steve Balestriei, and for Jeremy Dawson, we thank you again. If you ever have any questions for us, you can tweet us at Patriots Central, and we'll be happy to get them on the show.
Thanks for tuning in to Patriots Central. For Patriots news, blogs, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.